For being here with us for this agenda item. If we can have the staff liaison commence with the roll call.
Just for the record, it's going to be at 5:54.
Okay, 5:54.
So we have Mr. Raul Reyes, Mr. John Beckelheimer,
You can say present.
Oh, present.
Dr. Gaskin,
Present.
Ms. Angie Reyes, Mr. Robert Reyes,
Present.
Ms. Lucy Morris.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Okay, I believe we have the 15 minutes for the citizen comments. We'll touch back on that. There are minutes from the last meeting that we had to be approved?
Yes.
There are?
We had included it also in your email, and then right now it's in your package. So these are the minutes. If y'all want to take a few minutes to review, if there's any corrections y'all want us to make, let us know. If not, y'all can entertain a motion to approve.
Has anybody seen any corrections that they might need?
No, I looked them over earlier, so everybody's feel like they have them kind.
I think it's good. I don't see any errors.
Yeah, I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
There's been a motion by Mr. Beckelheimer to approve the minutes. It's been seconded by Dr. Gaskins. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, we'll go ahead and move on to the previous question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. We can go ahead and continue on.
Well, and just to let you know, on citizen comments, it is already past 5:45.
Okay.
And we haven't received anybody to sign up. So they could have still come in, even if you hadn't opened the meeting, they could have signed up.
Mhm.
There was no sign
No
up.
sign, so we can skip that agenda item as well. I guess we're now on agenda item number 5. Is that,
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some guidance.
So we do have the discussion of possible action on the review of the mid-year and close-out reports for fiscal year 2021-2022 third-party funding contracts.
So I do want to give an update to the committee. We also included right now 2 spreadsheets, just so that you all are aware. This was what was presented to council as during budget workshop started back in August. I want to say September. Back in August, what was presented to council during budget was your committee's recommendation. And on the general fund one, you do see council amounts that were basically amended and approved by council. So the last that is what was actually awarded by council. Now, part of that discussion that we had, of course, we always present, the committee's recommendation and any discussions that we have. And they asked staff to come back to the committee and also talk about some additional reports that we can possibly get from all these agencies to ensure that they are complying each year, not just with their expenditures and reimbursements, but that they also have matrix and they have performance measures. So this is what we were wanting to present to the committee today. In the packet that we gave you, you'll see 2 forms. That one says mid-year report and another one says final report. As you recall, part of the application, there is performance measures that every agency tells us, but they would always just tell us this is what we plan to do with the money, and then but I guess what we want to put together is a more tangible report where, and this is where these 2 come about, where we can ask, simple questions. How many people did you serve with this money? Or how did or how many pounds of food did you distribute? Or any other matrix that we would want to be able to compile and then put on our website to disseminate this information to the community and basically say, okay, the X amount of funding for third-party funding attributed to X amount of performance measures throughout the year. So, this is just an example of something that we put together. I mean, if there's additional questions or additional, measures that you would want us to add, let us know. But this is basically what, council wanted the committee to review, and more on the side of transparency with our funds, right, that we are giving to the community. As far, correct?
Can I ask a few questions?
Correct? Yes.
So, the hotel motel applications, the only one that was changed was the Center for the Arts. Is that correct?
The hotel motel. No,
They all stay the same.
They all stay the same.
Okay, because one's in. red.
One's one in
I
red,
don't know
yeah.
why we put it in red.
We put it in red because they had some questions, I think it was, they were negotiating their new contract.
Oh. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so the Center of the Arts, committee recommendation was $150,000. Council approved all the recommendation because that was the money, it was available, and everyone asked that money, and they were okay with that. The reason I kind of put it in red is, their lease is gonna be up for renewal on November. So they might not have a need for they're renegotiating their lease with the city, so they might not have the need for the whole 150. So the way usually their contract reads is that 150 include the lease payment for the Center of the Arts for using that facility, and it's about 41,000 that actually goes to the operations of the facility. So so I just wanted to make that clear to the council that that might change because their lease is gonna get renewed. So
Okay. Can we get any clarification on the general fund number changes? Was there any discussion, like I see, like Main Street went from 0 to 50,000.
So Main Street went that day during budget. They were there and they did advocate for funding, and they did present to council what they do, and so they basically were giving $50,000. And
What?
so sorry.
No, okay, I was just curious, it's like I saw some, and then like Crime Stoppers went up as well, so I didn't know, was there any, what was the council's, what was, how to ask this, the way I wanna ask it, was the council put off by the numbers that we originally gave, so they thought that they needed more, or was it just the presentations that showed that the need was greater than what we had assessed?
I think a little bit of both. I think they did look at. I presented how much they were requesting. I presented the recommendation, and I did remind them. The requests from all. I think they were totaling like $800,000, like everyone. So we knew we weren't going to be able to fund everyone, and I know. And I did explain that. We evaluated. I think they even asked me to pull up the scores, so I did pull up the scores.
Right.
So they did look at the scoring. I said pretty much for the most part everyone scored their average, but then we also take into account needs and priorities. So then they also discussed priorities and so they felt that certain agencies, they needed more funding. So that is why they opted to give them a little bit more funding. So during the budget process, that's usually what happens. They kind of, city's recommendation was also to stay within the 372, right? So then, while budget is going on, they kind of put some certain things on wish list sometimes. So they put these amounts on wish list, and then they kind of, from the overall budget, kind of move things around so that they can give third-party funding more money. So ultimately, that's kind of the way they work this process. But yes, I believe there was discussion on that they felt that the Laredo Cancer Society needed a little bit more, so they gave them the 20,000. Laredo Crime Stoppers, 25. Laredo Regional Food Bank, they lowered the Laredo Regional Food Bank, and
To match.
What was the
To
reason?
match.
They just decided to
To match
match, that's
South
okay,
Texas.
that's match, that's fix it.
yes, and then there was discussion on that some of these food banks were receiving some stimulus money at that time, And actually, the city had even given them some additional money throughout the year, so they just,
Oh.
that's why I think all that discussion just played in, and that's how they, came up with some of these numbers. But again, we know, we always stress to them that your hard work and your recommendations were what they are.
I was just curious.
Well, I am curious too, because Laredo Main Street gets $50,000 and someone like Mercy Ministries gets 21.
Well, and Laredo Main Street is for what? That's not Jamboozy and all that, is it?
So, no, Laredo Main Street is actually their mission is to promote like downtown business and events downtown. So
Sure, while the bridge is closed, nobody can come over. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. While the bridge is closed and nobody can come over, so let's promote the businesses downtown that don't get clients right now.
And I think that's what we discussed here too, is that
Yes.
couldn't have events, the bridges were closed. We still had the pandemic pretty much in full throw, so not a lot you could do there, but.
well, and so this is another thing that I was gonna mention, but I'll hold on to the next item because I don't want to jump from.
Okay.
But yeah, so these were some of the discussions, so I wanted to just let you all know. Of course, I'll remind you all, the meetings are recorded, so you all can always go back also to get a feel for some of the questions that we get asked and how we answer, and if you ever feel that you want us to, give them more information, we can, and.
No, I was
But they're
just,
there.
that wasn't my question, I wasn't privy to the discussion, 'cause I didn't see it, so I was just kind of curious of kind of how that played out.
Yeah,
So for this item, we need to look at the,
At the report.
So the report.
The mid report and the final report.
Correct.
right,
I was looking at it, and the questions on the questionnaire part are pretty, they're a little more specific. I think we have like a wide range of organizations that, not everybody would distribute food, right? The Laredo Cancer Society is not
yeah,
gonna
so
distribute
they can
food.
put not applicable.
Okay.
I wanted to give them that option of like not applicable.
I was thinking maybe instead of having
Okay.
10 specific questions, you allow them to insert their own, like a statement, like their own report.
Okay.
That's fine, but not necessarily these specific questions.
So the feel for the report was for the purpose to know more how many people they're assisting with the funding they're getting from the city,
Yeah.
and not more of like, well, we did 10 food distributions throughout Laredo. It's like, how many people did you assist? Without the funding, you would have assisted 10,000 people. With the funding, you assisted 20. So basically, that's why there's more specific questions, and it kind of fits to everybody. Like Casa Misericordia, Mercy Ministries. That's how many clients did your organization assist? And then more for the food banks, it's like how many food did you distribute? And for the events portion, depends, like Special Olympics, they do events, how many people attended your event? And seminars, some of these organizations do request money for seminars and all that.
it actually made me better with the question you just asked, which is, what was the differential between what you would have done with the monies that you had versus the monies that you got?
Mm-hmm.
And that may be a better question for us to be asking, rather than what did you do? Because if you have $1 million and I give you $10 more and you're like, oh, we did 100,000 people, but if I gave you $10,000 and you had $10,000 and you served a whole bunch of people, the impact is greater. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
Rather than it just being, well, here's this little bit and we did this many, because it's not really a good apples to apples comparison. Because we wanted to compare what they did with the money we gave, not the money they already had.
No, yeah, and this, maybe we can strengthen that question, but I would wanna see just so the use of funds, they would,
Right.
and maybe that needs to be a little bit more clear,
Right.
we can definitely make that clear. What we envision is, so the $10,000, with the $10,000, how many people did you assist? Or was it a seminar that you provided?
Right.
Or was it food that you provided? What tangible, number, what matrix can you give me that I can then later populate a nice little report saying, okay, all this amount for third-party funding yield us this much of assistance to our community. So that's where, I wanted to, I guess, put some of those questions to allow us to give more numbers. Because on statements, that is part of the performance measures. So they do give us their performance measures saying, you know, we promised to do this and we're gonna do this. And they talk more about their services, but sometimes they don't give me the numbers. They don't
Right.
tell me how many people did they assist. But we can definitely strengthen that, and we can change the wording to make it sound more, well, with the funding provided by the city, what was your outcome? And, or we can put, what was your outcome based on the following questions or other, right? And they can write their own, if there's a matrix here that we didn't.
I agree with you on I agree we need to strengthen the questions. I think there needs to be some way to differentiate, you know, the support that we gave and how much better did they do. I think
Okay.
that's a better story.
Okay.
I mean, I think you're correct that we need to say, okay, what did you do? But then tell us how our monies helped you do more of what you were doing anyways, right? Because then that I think even in their eyes would be better for them to go back with and say, look, with the money you gave us, we were able to, you know, give 100 more families food for X amount of, you know, that's a good narrative to tell in front of city council, my thought. And then, as you said, I think there needs to be a part where there's a narrative part so they can explain, because these questions, you're right, they're somewhat rigid, and this way we have to keep the questions, but we put a section for a narrative. I don't know exactly what the caption or the intro of the narrative would be, but to tell them, I don't know what we would tell them to put in the narrative, but I think this gives them a chance to tell their story.
Outcomes, and we can call it
Convince us
outcomes.
to allocate money to you again.
Right. Tell us.
Say what you want.
Yeah, tell us if there's something outside of these questions or something that's a nuance in the questions that we just don't know, that the narrative can provide that backstory that we may need, you know, to know, right? It's like what you gave us during COVID, you gave us this extra money, we were able to feed 100 more families
Absolutely, you're right.
and provide X amount of things for children, and then we did these seminars for health, and so there's all these other things we did with the money outside of just this strict set of questions. And you know, it's just, I think if the council will read these reports at some point, correct? Or they could.
Yes, they could, definitely, they
Right,
could, and what I
that
want.
may be a better narrative for them
Yeah.
too.
And I want to be able to also post these. I mean, it could be that I post all of them, because right now on our website, we had done, we would post our contracts, like, so that anybody can go in there and see the third-party funding contract, you know, with all the attachments and everything. So I would like to have another one where it has reports, right? So I could put the reports the way they write it, and then maybe I would do like a nice little just like matrix of numbers. But yeah, we can definitely make this like, you know, visible to everyone.
And to combine what you both are saying, how many people did you serve? How many more people did you serve because of the monies you received from this?
Right. That's what I was saying.
And I think the numbers are obviously quantifiable, and I think they're really important. Like you said, I can narrate something that sounds beautiful, then all I did was help my neighbor, one person. So I think that both are necessary. Give me some hard numbers so I can see what you've done, and now wow me with your essay. I think it's as simple as that. Is this an actionable item that we need to discuss? That we need to vote on
Do we
something
have
about
to
this?
approve these or?
No, I think they had just asked us to come to the committee and get recommendations for you, from you all, so that we can implement something.
Well, I think that would be the recommendation of what Dr. Gaskin said.
Okay.
Leave them room for an essay.
Okay.
But absolutely what you just said, don't let them snake around the numbers with an essay by not giving numbers. So let's do, but specifically, like we said, how many people did you serve? How many more people did you serve? Or how many more meals did you provide because of this money?
Now, is this also going to be done for Hotel Motel?
So Hotel Motel actually has a post-event report.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I think, maybe we failed to do is just put it out there a little bit more. So we're requesting them, we request them all the time at the end of either at the end of the event or at the end of the fiscal year, which October 15th 15 is the last report that they have to submit, everything to close out the year.
Okay.
So by October 15, I should get everyone's post-event report. Now, mind you, a lot of events didn't happen, so a lot of money wasn't even spent. So I'm gonna put that into also, and I'll present it to the board. I think that'll be, to committee, I think that'll be a good, report that I can bring to you all, so y'all can see. You know, COVID was an interesting year, but at least so y'all can see what is it that they do report. But there's matrices for them. They have to tell me how many heads to beds or how many people the other event yield and stuff.
See, I would have thought Laredo Main Street would be hotel motel. That
Right.
would make sense to me, having a.
They used to be, but a lot of their events were not bringing heads to beds anymore. They're local events. Like a farmer's market is a local event.
Right.
So they were having trouble quantifying how many people they were bringing in. So it's still serving a purpose, right? Because
Yeah, but
it's bringing.
locals.
So then, yes, it was determined, I think a year or 2 years ago, that they were better suited in general fund. But then now in general fund, there's more competition, right? So now they're competing with some agencies that are very much in need in our community. Yeah. But okay, so I mean, unless y'all want a motion, y'all can motion something or.
Do you need a motion, or can we just submit the suggestions? 'Cause I think
I think you can just submit the suggestions.
Okay, if you guys took sufficient
Yes.
notes of what we
Yeah.
had said.
And it's recorded, so.
Yeah, so we'll
We'll
have
have it
to record
on
it.
record.
that's fine.
So the questions will now read basically more like how many more clients did you assist with third party funding funds or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
And we'll go ahead and add that narrative so they can give us more information as to the numbers that you submitted on top.
Exactly.
All right, that's perfect. And that would be.
So that's what we wanted to bring you, yeah, and what we wanted to present to you is that we will be requesting a mid-year report and a final report.
Yes,
So that we can have some information to report, that's on the next item.
okay.
So I think we're gonna go ahead and jump to item number 6.
Okay, so, item number 6 is update on the 2021-2022 schedule for meetings, presentations by organizations, and any other matters considered there too. So I did provide you all a draft of some potential dates for presentations. I know this was something that was brought up during the application process, and we did wanna, I think it's important that you all hear from the organizations before that application comes in, right? So they could give us a report on what did they do last year, what are they doing this year with their money? Not what I want from next year, it's basically what are we doing right now? So I wanted to invite the agencies over. And I believe we felt that with 3, 4, 5, with these 6 meetings, we can squeeze all your agencies in to at least a 10-minute, So we were thinking, in an hour meeting, I would bring 4 agencies per meeting. So I'll still give you all time to open the meeting, discuss anything else, and then go straight into the presentations. I don't know how y'all feel about that. Now, I just put dates, and I just put 5:30, but remember, you all vote on whatever time is available for you all, or works best. I know last time we talked about some noon meetings, we talked about afternoon meetings, we even talked about 6 p.m. meetings, so I'm sorry that I made y'all come at 5:30 today, but whatever works for you all, let us know. And usually, it's easier when we have a yearly calendar. It's usually easier for us to schedule
Sure.
the meetings and stuff. Our conference room is equipped to record and everything, so we could work through that. It's harder when we're fighting to use City Hall for something, but we could always use this conference room for space. But let me know what y'all think. Now, we kind of broke it down with the top would be the schedule for presentations, and then the bottom would be schedule for committee meetings. This is what we're looking for to start the application process.
Okay.
So the bottom would be more of the application process, right?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
So that's why you have 2 June meetings, that's why you have 2 May meetings. And then we wanted to give you a little break, maybe,
What's the deadline for the application for next year?
we haven't solidified that, but I I would bring it, I could bring it to you all, but we usually give them,
We usually start in mid-March and would give them a deadline for mid-April.
And it would start with that initial meeting that they have to attend, no? The training,
Correct,
the training.
and correct. After we start after we open applications, we do a training for them.
Okay.
And that is, us giving them information, how to apply, what's needed and all that stuff.
and we can definitely by December 14, we can have that schedule for you all. So
Okay.
we can bring that
Oh,
to you,
perfect.
yeah. We'll bring you the proposed schedule and then y'all can let us know
Okay.
if you feel that you wanna, extend the deadline or give them more time or give them less time or.
Well, I just wanted to see it so we can kind of gauge, okay, this is when the applications will be in, this is when we'll need to start getting some bandwidth to review the applications and those.
Yeah, so usually we make them do around April, so then we're even giving ourselves some time, so that we would present them to you the first meeting of probably May 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that'll give us time to review the actual application before we present it to you guys.
Gotcha.
Review for completeness,
Gotcha.
give you the information.
Okay.
So we're having our meetings while we're doing the presentation, the dates enter.
No.
Because the ones at the top are just the presentations, the ones at the
Yes.
bottom are the actual council meeting, committee meetings.
Right, but what I'm
Oh.
saying is somebody's presenting November 16th, that's already past our meeting dates.
Oh, yeah, that would be, we just kind of fitted,
Spread them, there's a
Spread
gap.
them.
there.
Yeah, there's a
I was
gap.
thinking
Yeah,
of this year, so I was
then there's a
like,
May, between May and July, that's when we jump down to the committee meetings. And then once we're done with those, then we'll continue in October.
Correct. So the first
With the-
3 months of the year, you guys will be seeing, you'll have community meetings with the presentations from certain organizations. And then once we conclude the application process and your review process, we'll go ahead and continue with the presentation.
unless y'all wanna start sooner, because the way I put it like this is, you're basically not gonna hear from everyone before the application. Do you see what I'm,
Yeah,
so
then-
you're gonna have January, February, March, you'll have presentations, then you won't have any
And
presentations
we'll start
because
having our
we're gonna
meetings.
start having the meetings on the application, reviewing applications, so nobody will come in and
Right, and
And
then when we're
then-
through with our meetings, we'll get 3 more presentations?
yeah.
Yeah, that
You-
may
you
be
can do
problem.
like-
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that may be problematic though, because it kind of, we get prejudice between the the presentations we see first.
Okay.
So, let's just say that we see some and they bomb the presentation, and so we penalize them, and then we see the later presentation after we've already put all our scores and done everything,
Well,
and they
remember,
bomb it too. and then we
remember,
can't be
the
like,
presentations are not supposed to be geared toward the new applications. They're just so that the committee can get familiarized or have any questions. So what I envision is, the presentations are more about what do we do? What did we do last year, or what are we doing currently with your funding?
Yeah, but isn't that supposed to help us during our meetings to
It
decide
can.
how,
Yeah, I'm
how
just
we
saying
wanna
that it
allocate
may-
the funds?
Yeah, it may.
So I'm saying that their interspersed doesn't make a lot of sense. In other words, if you want to, then maybe start a little earlier.
Yeah, no, we can,
At
we
the
can start,
presentations, and then
We can
have them
start this
finish
November.
before the May 4th meeting,
okay.
right? So all the presentations are done when we start having our regular sessions too.
Yeah,
And then why
we can
don't
do
we
that.
just have these meetings in November and December in this fiscal year?
Okay. No, we
2021.
can.
That's what I'm saying, move them up
Yeah,
to now,
start
Okay.
if
this
they're
now.
ready.
Yes. Well, we could always invite them. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll start inviting them and start scheduling them for, we can start doing that.
we can schedule something this much.
Well, if you can, and I have to just interject that we could have more than one meeting a month.
Yeah, we could.
We could have more than one, just listen to presentations.
It's our prerogative, how many meetings we
Right.
have.
So if you can get 4 in, how many up, I forget how many there were?
There's 25,
We have a total of 36 with hotel.
36 we go to.
36.
Yeah, so 36, let's say we were saying 36, divided by at least 4 per meeting. So that actually, well, no, we would have to push.
When do
were
we
doing
have to
5,
have?
right?
when do we-
5 was, 5 per meeting would give you seven meetings.
When do we have to give our final recommendation to city council? I don't remember the date.
For
less.
for every year, we usually like in
July.
July. In
To give
July,
us time
because that
again.
gives us time to prepare all the budget presentation stuff.
Which is the.
Which budget
meeting.
is usually August.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we usually do it July, because that way we can present it to our budget department. They'll finalize it, and then the presentation at council is actually in August.
So I'd be open to starting it off this year instead of waiting till January 19th.
Okay.
And we just do.
I would suggest that we still start in November, so that we can at least give them, like 3 weeks so that they can
It's already
prepare.
October, yeah.
So anytime that you want in November, like I have the calendar up right now, so
So it changes to
you all.
21 and 21.
Oh, and I forgot. So you all, we were doing Wednesday meetings because everyone at one point had said that Wednesdays would work.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you, are all these Wednesdays?
I believe they
Yeah.
were Wednesdays.
They're all Wednesday. It'll be November 17th if you do it this year for
Yes.
2021, and December 15th for 2020.
Yes. Does that work?
Why not?
Okay.
Do you guys want to stick to 5:30 meetings or 6 p.m. meetings?
I prefer 6 p.m.
I would
to
too.
give us a little time to get here. I was a little late today.
Oh, traffic was bad.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
I mean,
And
try
I
to
think we discussed this last time, and
let's,
it
let's
was.
just say 5:30.
And you ignored us anyway.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Understand we'll get here at 6. That's just the
I
way.
think, actually, I think that's what we decided, yeah.
Yeah.
last-
Yes, sorry, that was my.
No worries.
She was testing us.
Yes. Just wanted to make sure
You
you
know,
all
what
were.
I'm saying, it's like, say the time earlier, so they'll get there on time.
That's
That's
the
what you
Laredo
come here, you
mentality.
and I are the only dum-dums that got here early and
Yeah.
twiddling our thumbs.
We had a nice
We did.
conversation over food.
Yeah, the food was
They
great.
got you.
Well, when the meeting's over, I'll make you some great recommendations for San Antonio restaurants as well.
Okay. Not on the record.
Not on the record.
So we'll definitely change that. So the first meeting would be November 17, and then December 15, and then January, February, and we'll gauge it. I mean, I would say that November and December are usually probably harder to get like 2 meetings in that month. But I would suggest that maybe we'll start putting the schedule together, and if we feel that we might need to double up in January and February, we'll let you know. I think 10-minute presentations are good because that gives you question and answer time for each committee.
Where are they gonna do the presentation?
Sorry?
Here?
Where would-
Here?
Here.
They
Okay.
can, yeah, we can,
Like, are they gonna,
If they
like,
have a-
cause there are several, like, they're all gonna be just like in the hall, like, rotating out. So-
yes, that's usually what we have them do. We
Okay.
can have them wait, one at a time, or we can tell
Oh,
them.
no, that's okay, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how they would do it, that's all.
Yes. It's been a while that I participated in one that we had presentations. It was something that we used to do on,
Before COVID.
Yeah.
Sure.
well, before COVID, and then the committee, at one point, we just didn't. I remember the year, we talked about it and we hadn't done it. But I think it's something good because there was a lot of questions on what is, the actual missions and the outcomes of these organizations. So what better way for them to come in and let you know what their story is, right?
Absolutely.
I know, I was talking to other organizations, how they deal with funding. United Way does this, kind of exercise also on a yearly basis. So they have 2 different methods. They have their organizations come in and give presentations, and then they also encourage the committees to go out to the organizations and see firsthand.
Oh, right.
But I mean, that's just something else that you often think. I was talking to actually a committee member from United Way, and they were saying, no, we do both. Sometimes they'll come and give us presentations, and then other time. But we can definitely, have them present here. I mean, it's equipped here, and they can come and bring a presentation, or they can just talk, and but I think that would be nice. I think that would work. And we'll schedule them, and we'll let you know. We'll just go down the list alphabetical order, the way it is, so that, or maybe we'll do 2 from general fund, 2 from hotel motel at the beginning, so that it can kind of be like balanced. Is that okay with you all, or you all want me to do all general fund first and
I
then?
have no preference as
Yeah,
to
you can do
who
it.
comes in.
Okay.
I think first come, first serve, and just.
Okay. We'll definitely start working on that.
But do we need action to make the changes to
I
the
would-
schedule?
Yes,
or-
I would say for you all to motion, that way you all put this,
Make the motion, I'll second.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move that we amend the schedule to include in November 2021 and December 2021 scheduled meeting, in addition to the January and February, March, and with a possible extra meeting for January, February, and March.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Did I see all the needed stipulations there?
yes.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Dr. Gaskins. Is there any discussion on the matter? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. I believe we're now moving to new business. Is there any new business?
We don't have any new business on our side, but unless you all have anything.
If there's no new business to be discussed before the board, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn.
I suppose.
It's been moved by Mr. Beckenheimer, seconded by Dr. Gaskins to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.